Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe, a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And we have two great guests with us today. Social entrepreneur Herbert Moore, who is the CEO and founder of a startup, WiseBanyan, and executive director of Village Capital, one of the great firms backing social entrepreneurs in America, Ross Baird. Ross and Herbert, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. Invitation.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation. Ross, let's start with you. Let's provide a little context quickly for the audience so they understand. You're part of the Source initiative to identify social entrepreneurs in the United States who are building companies to serve meaningful social problems, and you've started with finance as a problem. Tell us a little bit about how this program works.
Yeah, so at Village Capital and in our partners in the Source Initiative across the U.S., we recruit entrepreneurs that are solving the biggest problems in our time. And if you look globally, income inequality is larger than it's been since the lifetime of most people in the world. A lot of people are really down on the direction the economy is moving, but we're not. We think that there are a number of different ways to provide access to opportunity to low-income people, and financial services is one of them. So in this program that we're talking about today, and in all of our programs, we recruit entrepreneurs that can provide access to opportunity for low-income people in the U.S. and around the world. And in the U.S., there are nearly 100 million people, 1 in 3, who access some form of informal financial services. This means maybe it's payday loans, maybe it's check cashing places. The average low-income person in the U.S. spends about $40,000 in their lifetime in fees from informal sector financial service markets. And it's the same emerging market. I mean, around the world, over 50% of people in the world don't access formal financial services. And we think that everybody in the world thinks about one thing every day, and it's money. And if your money is not safe, if you don't have access to money, if you don't have a place to grow your wealth, that just limits your access to opportunity. So we worked with 14 teams that can enable low-income people in the U.S. and around the world to grow their wealth in this program over the last 3 months.
Well, that's a great summary, and so your process has yielded from 15 candidate companies, 2 companies that have you identified as real winners, and what have you given these 2 companies?
It's a good question. So we recruited nationally. We got over 100 applications from across the U.S. We worked with 14 companies over a 3.5-month boot camp-like program to take really great companies and make them ready to grow. And then we also have a fund that invests in graduates of these programs, and we invest $50,000 out of this fund into companies. But unlike your average business plan competition where an investment committee or a celebrity judging panel picks the winners, actually the entrepreneurs themselves pick the winners. So we are going to be investing $50,000 in 2 companies, and they were actually picked by the 14 participants. So our entrepreneurs were picked by their peers, which we think are your biggest supporters and your toughest critics, are not when you're in class the teacher at the front of the room, but the person sitting in the chair next to you.
That's a great model. And so the 2 companies that won were eMoneyPool and also WiseBanyan, right?
Yeah.
Now, we're going to give Herbert a minute to introduce himself in just a minute, but why don't you take 30 seconds and tell us a little bit about eMoneyPool?
Yeah, so eMoneyPool takes a concept called, depending on the country you're in, a savings group. In Kenya they call them chamas. There are over 200 names for savings groups. Basically, you get together with a group of your friends, and if you can't access a bank account, we might each put in a couple $100, and when one of us needs to access the group, we go to the group and draw out a certain amount of money to buy what we need to upgrade our house or to pay for our kid who had to go to the hospital or whatever. So this seems like a niche thing. In America alone, there are nearly 40 million people who participate in these savings groups, and nearly all of them are cash-based and in the informal market. And eMoneyPool enables people to take the savings group that they're already participating in, puts them online, makes their cash more secure, enables them to build a credit rating based off of the activity that they're already participating in, enables them to maybe get a auto loan or a bank loan or a student loan for their kids, access the opportunity that they want to be able to access.
It's moving people out of the informal financial economy into the more formal financial economy. That's great. Now, Herbert, this is your time to shine. Tell us what on earth WiseBanyan is doing.
So WiseBanyan is the world's first free online investment advisor, and we started with a mission of providing access to high-quality investment products for individuals. So we allow people to come online to our website, and through a process that essentially mimics what a good financial advisor will do in person, we create a portfolio for that client based on his or her investment objectives. And the portfolio is all low-cost ETFs. Our clients don't pay trading fees. But the biggest thing is that we can offer this with no minimums. And so what that does is it allows all the people that don't have the necessary capital to meet the minimums for a financial advisor, it allows them to start investing earlier for their goals and then reach those goals sooner.
Well, this is really remarkable that when you start thinking about the opportunity to take very small amounts of money, whether that's $10, $100, or $500, and to be able to actually invest that in the stock market is really pretty revolutionary, especially when you're talking about doing it on a no-fee basis. How does that work? How have you done it?
So to be able to take the smaller amounts of money, we're one of two firms that can offer fractional shares. So we can give you 50 cents, 5% of a $10 portfolio if we want in a certain allocation or sector. And then to be able to take it to the extreme with no fees, we build on a completely scalable platform that allows everything is digital, and that when you come to our website, we believe that we're a scalable platform that can offer this product and service with no fee, and it doesn't cost us anything to take an additional client. Unlike a traditional investment advisor that has a relatively high overhead cost, the average independent RIA in this country has an $1,800 a year per client overhead. We essentially at the margin have none, and so we pass this along to our customers to be able to allow them to invest for their future.
I've got to ask, because if you're not charging fees, this is just a charity unless there's a revenue stream. What's the revenue stream?
Later on this year, we're rolling out, it's a web freemium model. So later on this year, we're going to roll out additional products and services, whether it's tax loss harvesting or an enhanced income product on the platform. But the basic service will always remain free, because we feel that not only that from the service standpoint, but also to encourage and be able to allow people to foster good investing and savings habits earlier, to be able to get them in the door with no fee and no minimum is very important for us, both from a business standpoint and also from a mission standpoint.
Well, let's talk about your mission just a little bit and drill down on that, because if the people you are targeting are people who are at the margins of our economy and who are not participating in the formal financial markets already, they may not even have bank accounts. How do they get their first $10, their first $100 invested on your platform? They can't mail you a bundle of cash. How does it work?
That's a really good question, and we see ourselves as solving part of the overall problem. That's correct. To invest with us, you need a bank account or a checking account. And really where we see ourselves, whom we see ourselves serving now are individuals that are already aware of this, whether they're students or they just got their first job, but they don't have any other options. Ross gave some great statistics earlier, and one of our favorite is that nearly half of the people in this country couldn't come up with $2,000 in cash if they needed to. And a lot of those people do have access to financial infrastructure. It's just that they don't have the large sums of savings that many other people enjoy. So with this platform, we solve the part of the problem of the low minimums, and we rely on some of our other compatriots in the cohort to work on the other issues of being underbanked or for not having access to a checking or savings account.
Well, it's hard to overstate the value of being able to accumulate some money somewhere, because so many people don't. Most of us struggle with accumulating some wealth, and so for young people, for young families, for working people, I mean, this is a universal problem, isn't it?
Absolutely, and compounding interest is an incredible force. So when you allow people the mechanism to start with $25 or $50 a week or a month, eventually that grows and grows over time. So even though the sample period is relatively short, we've seen people up their allocations as jobs have changed or financial circumstances have changed. But to give them this really excellent mechanism to start earlier allows them to build good behavior, build wealth, and reach their goals sooner.
Ross, tell us a little bit about the criteria that Herbert's peers were using in order to make this determination. How did they choose the winner? What were they looking at in order to decide who ought to get this special recognition and be able to advance?
Yeah, that's really a good question. So the way, and first of all, you can't vote for yourself if you're, we always get asked that question. So everyone was ranking everyone else but wasn't ranking themselves. But if you and I are ranking Herbert according to the criteria, there are 6 categories that we think are critical to get right if you're an entrepreneur starting a business. One is the team, and we can go deeper into that, but they did an assessment of the team. Is this the team that can actually pull off what they say they're going to pull off? Second is the product. Does the product work? Is a pretty simple but very important thing to get right. Third is customer validation. Do people actually want this? And I think this is one that social entrepreneurs in particular get wrong a lot of the time. Every great social entrepreneur is trying to solve a need, but you have to have both need and demand, and making sure that not only is your product solving a problem, but there are people who want to pay for your solution to the problem is really, really critical. So that's the third piece. The fourth is financials. Is this going to be a successful company? I mean, charities are wonderful. We are investing in businesses, and there has to be a financial case that this company is going to thrive. Fifth is impact, and how we think about impact is relative to scale. So we're most excited about companies where, as the company grows, the impact grows. And with WiseBanyan is one that they did particularly well on. I mean, WiseBanyan is looking to reach hundreds of millions of people around the world, and hundreds of millions of people around the world today cannot, even the hundreds of millions, cannot afford the minimum of what your average investment advisor is charging. So for WiseBanyan to reach the scale at which the company will be successful, they truly need to have lower middle class people worldwide sign up for the service, which I'm sure Herbert is very excited for that to happen. And the sixth is return on capital. Do they have a strategy to where if I put in money as an investor, will I get my money back? Investing is we want to put money into the company. We want it to help the company grow, and we would like to see financial returns happen when the company does grow. So how likely is this going to happen? So those are the criteria, and WiseBanyan really hit it out of the park.
Well, it really is an amazing story that gets right at a critical, crucial social problem for low-wealth individuals in the United States immediately and around the world ultimately. How do you, Herbert, as you look at what you're doing and the potential scale, you're going to need a lot of money because you've got to build a lot of infrastructure. While in theory the next individual is free to add to your system, the next 2 million may cost you something. How are you going to spool this up?
That's correct. I mean, so over half of the people that work at WiseBanyan are engineers. We are registered. We were previously registered with 17 states. We now have a national registration. We spend a lot of time and money, frankly, on compliance and legal and regulatory issues. So this is one reason why we saw an opportunity for this. While it is an online business, there are some barriers to entry, and there are not a lot of people that could start it tomorrow. And as we move forward with our plans in the funding, we have outside investors in addition to Village Capital, and we see ourselves beginning to monetize and generate revenue from clients through products and services that we're offering in the near to midterm. So with those, we hope to grow the business organically and also with some outside investors.
And have you begun a formal capital raise to provide the capital you need for the next 2 million people you bring on?
I'm happy to discuss that off the air. I think we've been advised not to talk about that publicly, but
Okay.
if Village Capital is involved, I think it's fair to say that, yeah, people can probably draw their own conclusion.
All righty. So I need
If
to,
people listening,
maybe
are
offline we'll talk to you
investing
about Reg D 506C. Then you can talk to people like me about these things. But what is next for you, Herbert?
Next for us is improving and continuing to build the product. So we launched with the free product that allows people to invest for free and with no minimum. And as we move forward, the additional freemium services that we hope to bring onto the platform to add demonstrable value to people. So when we looked at this industry, we felt like there was a lot of things that were unnecessary for clients, but then there also are value add that a good financial advisor can bring, whether it's intelligent assessment of tax consequences and helping the clients to plan for that. Even if it's looking at their split looking at the split between their taxable and non-taxable accounts, looking at external holdings that they might have and integrating that into an overall plan. So as we begin to go down the road, we start to think, how can we add more and more value to our clients?
That's great. Now, Ross, what's next for Village Capital? You'll have another cohort, I presume. Tell us about what industry that will cover and what that process looks like and how people might apply to participate in it.
Yeah, let me say first, just to pick up on a comment that you and Herbert were talking about you have to have a bank account to get to WiseBanyan. What happens if you don't have a bank account? We really think about building these cohorts as holistic solutions to a big problem, with each team solving a subset of the problem. So imagine, for example, an eMoneyPool client who doesn't have a bank account, who is able to get to a bank account after graduating from eMoneyPool. What's next? They've got $400 extra off of their most recent loan working out. They could invest that in WiseBanyan. We're already seeing formal partnerships across this cohort like that, saying, well, I've got this angle of the problem, you've got that angle, and our partnership could be better. So we think about it, we really want to grow more of these cohorts, and we've done 27 of them over the last 4 years, but with lots of awesome enterprises solving subsets of big problems. So we have one currently running focused on energy across the US. We have one in India focused on last mile distribution of affordable basic goods and services for the poor. We have one focused on health in the US that's running right now out of Boston. In the next few months, we're going to be launching one in Kenya focused on innovations that increase the income of smallholder farmers. The next source cohort with the Hitachi Foundation Investor Circle will be kicking off focused on agriculture this fall in Louisville, Kentucky. We're looking to roll out probably 2 or 3 more before the year's end. So if you stay tuned to our Twitter feed or on billcap.com, we have probably 1 new of these a month coming out.
Wow, that's wild. Let's talk just a minute about the agricultural cohort for Source. What's the application process like for that?
It's a great question. So if you go to billcap.com and you see the big red button that says apply, you can apply to it. We are really, again, that's Vilcap, VILCAP.com. Thanks for the tee up, Devin. But we're looking for companies that are really looking at making our agricultural supply chain more efficient. And that could be, we did one of these last year in Louisville, and it could be, just to give a couple of examples from last year, one was a precision insect monitoring device that could be applied globally that enables farmers to figure out how many insects are in what part of their field. It cuts pesticide use 90%, and it saves your average farmer $5,000 a year. A lot of money. They probably can go invest that in WiseBanyan now. Another one was a electric battery that was making tractors be able to be powered by battery and recharged overnight rather than by diesel or gasoline. So anything related to improving the way we produce and consume our food across the value chain, we're really interested in.
Wow. Well, there are some huge opportunities to improve food distribution, not only in the U.S. but around the world. So it's an exciting thing. I hope you'll keep us posted on that as that rolls forward, Ross.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Now, I want to thank both of you for the time you've taken today. Herbert, why don't you give us one last pitch on how people can engage with you if they're interested in investing on your platform? Where do they go and how do they do it?
Sure, go to WiseBanyan.com, sign up to join our list, and you can open an account very soon. We already have thousands of clients live on the platform, and we'd love to have you as the next one. You can follow us on Twitter at WiseBanyan as well.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you both for your time today. This has been great.
Thanks, Devin. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Devin. Nice to see you, Ross.
Nice to see you, Herbert.
Let's do some good.
All right.